Errol Spence Jr., car accident, eye injury, long layoffs. This is your boy JG. This is the Punch Report. In this video, I want to respond to a couple great comments left by some of the subscribers. Shit, I don't even know if they subscribe, but these are still great comments. So I wanted to get into that, provide some context to that information, and kind of talk around some of these things, these unknowns that surround Errol Spence Jr. But like I said before, this is your boy JG. This is a Punch Report. Let's get into it. First things first, special shout out to Groove Tracks Gingerbread Man and my man Robert Sanchez. Their comments are similar but different, but they essentially surround the unknowns around Errol Spence Jr., right? We know he had the car accident, 14-month layoff, fights Danny Garcia. Then they find the eye injury just before the Manny Pacquiao fight. So let's get into some of the details of that. We know about the car accident. We've seen Errol Spence post-camp and post-fight from the car accident. So for me and my money, I've already seen him overcome that. So he was training for Manny Pacquiao, which we know he had to pull out, I think, 10 to 14 days before that bout was to take place because of the discovery of the eye injury. They go to the specialist. They say, hey, look, man, I have to confirm what everyone else has said. It's bad. You're going to need surgery immediately. You got to keep in mind, for that particular card where Errol Spence was supposed to fight Manny Pacquiao back in August of last year, Yordenis Ugas was training to fight on that undercard. He gets elevated to the Pacquiao fight, and we know what happens. Now it's Friday, so we're a day away from the bout taking place tomorrow with Errol Spence Jr., Yordenis Ugas, unified title, 3 belts on the line, we know. And so I bring all of that up to say this. Errol Spence Jr. now, since the car accident, he's had 3 full training camps. Now, we know he didn't compete against Manny Pacquiao. He competed against Danny Garcia, and this would be his 3rd full camp. We know that he's made certain changes to his life and lifestyle and really refocused on boxing. He's been pretty vocal about this and saying that the renewed focus after being in 2 really precarious situations, one self-inflicted, the other just kind of a freak deal that, you know, to be perfectly honest, a lot of people don't come back from. But the things that I really wanted to highlight is this. Whenever I do a video breakdown about anything, when it comes to these fighters, these fights, these upcoming bouts, the number one thing I want to focus on this channel is I don't ever want to mince words. If I feel like a fight's gonna be close, I'll say that and I'll try to provide the information. If I feel like someone's gonna get their ass whooped, I'll say that and provide the information. I could end up being wrong, but like I said before, what you end up seeing in the fights and the breakdowns is going to play out in one way or the other, unless something crazy happens. When it comes to Errol Spence Jr.'s eye, I have to be of the assumption that it is good to go and it is healthy. If you listen to recent interviews that he's provided, he goes on to state, I don't have the direct quote in front of me, that he has an additional buckle on his eye. So I wanted to do a little bit of homework about what that could be or what that could mean. So essentially what I discovered was this. There's a detached retina surgery called scleral buckling, where essentially they reinforce the eye with a piece of silicone fabric that takes the back of the eye and reattaches it to the retina. So it's a material that was not there prior to the injury. So you and I, if you haven't had a detached retina, you don't have this. So what that means to me is this. He has an additional reinforcing layer on the back of his eye, reattaching it to the retina. In my opinion, it's kind of like this. If you guys rock with baseball, it's like Tommy John surgery, right? You're a pitcher, you tear your elbow up real bad. You go in, you get the Tommy John surgery. They typically state that elbow is now reinforced. That's the comp that I use with Errol's eye. It's now reinforced as an additional buckle or layer of support. Typically, that's going to be in place unless there's a complication. So for me, if he makes it to the night of the fight, I have to assume that he's healthy. I have to assume that he's going to be good to go. The other thing I think about is this, that one of the comments says, we're not sure how the eye will hold up. Well, I think this is going to be a little bit different than structural damage, right? If you think about someone like Antonio Margarito, who got destroyed by Manny Pacquiao, he just got carved up. If you guys go back and do a little bit of homework and research, Margarito's eye, the orbital socket, was busted up so bad and there was so much damage behind it, he was unable to board a flight to go home. He had to stay. I believe the fight was on the East Coast, but he had to stay essentially where he was located, where the fight took place, for several weeks before the swelling and damage could be reduced, before he can board a flight to go home, unless he put himself in a life-threatening situation. That's how bad his eye was. Fast forward to Miguel Cotto, Margarito 2. Miguel Cotto targets the eye, left hooks, just batters that eye. I don't think the fight went more than 4 or 5 rounds before his shit was just ballooned up, right? And that's when you're dealing with structural damage to the particular area of that eye. I don't think that's what we're dealing with Errol Spence. But what I would say is this, and I've said it before, if Yordenis Ugas goes out there and targets the eye and Errol can't handle that, I'm not going to say Errol lost because of his eye. I'm going to say Errol lost because Yordenis Ugas was an accurate puncher and went out there and did what he needed to do. So I try not to live in these spaces of, well, you don't know this and you don't know that and blah, blah, blah. The only thing I don't know is how they're going to perform under the bright lights based on the amount of pressure that's applied to them, based on the moment, the belt's on the line, potentially being undisputed at 147 pounds. The fact this is only the 13th unified title bout in the welterweight division history. Those types of things are what are unknowns to me. But if Yordenis Ugas and Errol Spence Jr. weigh in today and make it to the fight tomorrow, I'm assuming they're both totally healthy and ready to go, and let the best man win. As far as the car accident and the long layoffs are concerned, Errol Spence Jr. has already shown us that he's capable of coming back from that. 14 months off after the Sean Porter fight, thrown from the vehicle, comes back, fights Danny Garcia December 5th, lumps him up, looks good. As we know what happens after that, eye injury. He has to pull out the Pacquiao fight. Like I mentioned before, he's had 3 full camps since the car accident. He's gotten in tremendous shape. He stayed in shape since the Pacquiao camp, even though he couldn't train for a bit post the surgery. But his body was already acclimated and ready to do the right things going into your Yordenis Ugas fight. So you got to shout out to Errol with that. And so that gives me a level of confidence in saying, despite the 2 long layoffs, we know he's been working, we know he's been training, we know he was ready for the Pacquiao fight. He'll be ready for the Ugas fight. And he's 3 years Ugas' junior. 32 years old for Errol Spence, 35 years old for Yordenis Ugas. Ugas has been on a great run up until now. He's been doing his thing. He's fighting the guys that are put in front of him. He had the Sean Porter fight. After reviewing the numbers, like I feel like he won that fight looking at the fight, but after reviewing the numbers, in my mind, I guess it makes a little more sense why someone would lean that direction. A little surprised that essentially Sean Porter dominated in the jabs category, but Ugas was provided the opportunity to fight Manny Pacquiao, and he went up there and really kind of shut him out. Despite Pacquiao almost doubling Ugas' punch output, Ugas' power, Ugas' ring presence, Ugas' ability to mix in the right hand in a variety of ways was much too much for Pacquiao to handle. And eventually Pacquiao became a sit and duck, and he was getting fucked up in there, despite his output. But I just wanted to address those comments. Great comments by those two, by the way. All love, all respect. Tomorrow's a fight. We could talk about something different after that. But for me, my final thought is this. Errol Spence, if he makes it to the fight, he's prepared. There's no excuse making. And that's one thing, I hope you guys made it to this point. That's one thing that I find fascinating. No one is getting on these in my comment section saying anything about Yordenis Ugas' overall skill and ability might be something that's too much for Errol Spence to handle. It's about what we don't know about Errol's physical condition that gives an individual pause. I take all that off the table. And if Ugas gets it done, he got it done because he was better, not because Errol was hurt or his eye or long. No, Errol's a young man, a focused man. He has a great team around him. It's obvious he's in tremendous shape. No one is getting in my comment section talking about the boxing skill and ability is far too much for Errol Spence to handle from a Yordenis Ugas perspective, because everyone knows the truth. No pun intended. But this is your boy JG. This has been a Punch Report. You guys, the Gingerbread Man, and who's my man? Who's the second man? The Gingerbread Man and Robert Sanchez. Great comments. I appreciate it. Hopefully you hit me with that subscribe. Can't wait for tomorrow night. This is your boy JG. This is a Punch Report. We out.